Jungkook stumbles upon an old letter from Taehyung, buried in a forgotten box. Its contents shatter his world and awaken a truth he was never meant to know. "Don't open it," Jungkook whispered to himself, fingers trembling as he held the yellowed envelope that bore Taehyung's unmistakable handwriting, sharp yet strangely fragile. The attic groaned under the weight of summer heat and time. Dust hung in the air like secrets suspended, refusing to settle. Jungkook stood motionless in front of the old wooden chest, heart pounding like a war drum in the cavern of silence. The box, once forgotten, now wide open, was filled with remnants of another life. Crumpled photographs, frayed concert wristbands, a half-burned notebook, and the letter. It was sealed. No date. Just his name scrawled across it in charcoal ink. John Jungkook. A crack of thunder echoed outside, although the sky had been blue moments ago. The light from the single window flickered, as if the world itself hesitated. Jungkook didn't remember seeing this box before. It had been tucked beneath a pile of his old high school sketchbooks, hidden behind a broken amplifier. His hands, now stained with dust, felt oddly cold. Taehyung hadn't spoken to him in almost 3 years, not since the night everything fell apart. And now, this. He tore the envelope open. The paper inside was thin and soft, like skin. Familiar. If you're reading this, then I've already failed. The first line crushed the air from Jungkook's lungs. He stumbled back, the letter fluttering in his hands like a bird trying to escape. He sank onto the attic floor, his knees weak, the corners of his vision beginning to blur. Taehyung's voice echoed in his head as he read on, not the voice of the boy who laughed under stage lights or whispered song lyrics at 3 a.m., but a fractured version. This Taehyung was afraid. "There's something I need you to know. Something I could never tell you in person. Not because I didn't trust you, but because I couldn't trust myself." The words slithered into Jungkook's chest like ice. He read the letter once, twice, and then a third time, slower. The meaning unraveling like a knot soaked in blood. Taehyung had been in trouble, serious trouble. Something about blackmail. Something about someone watching them both. There were phrases scratched out, rewritten violently in darker ink, mentions of the shadow at the end of the hall, and the tapes that were never supposed to exist. Every sentence hinted at danger, betrayal, and a choice Taehyung had made that haunted him. Then came the line that broke him. "I saw them watching you too. That night on the bridge, it wasn't just me." Jungkook's breath caught. That night he remembered. The bridge, the cold, the silence between them that had said more than words. But he'd never told anyone what he saw after Taehyung left. The figure, the car idling across the street, the camera flash. He had convinced himself it was paranoia. That trauma blurred perception, but Taehyung had seen it too. The rest of the letter dissolved into unfinished sentences and ink-smudged confessions. A phone number was scribbled on the back, but the last digit was torn away. Jungkook sat there, clutching the letter to his chest as if it were a heartbeat he had lost. Hot tears streamed down his cheeks, cutting clean paths through the dust on his skin. Why now? Why had this letter been hidden? And more importantly, if Taehyung had feared for both their lives, where was he now? Outside, the sky cracked open. Rain pelted the rooftop, urgent and wild. Jungkook didn't flinch. His mind was no longer in the attic. It was on that bridge, 3 years ago, where silence screamed and secrets began to rot. The smell of mold and old wood clung to him as he stood, letter still in hand. His legs moved before his brain did. Down the attic steps, through the narrow hallway, past the photographs that now seemed like relics of ghosts. His phone vibrated on the kitchen counter. Unknown number. He stared at it. It stopped ringing, then rang again. Same number. He didn't pick up. Instead, he opened his voice memos, hit record, and whispered the only thing he could think to say. "I think he wanted me to find it now. And I think someone knows I have." Jungkook's eyes turned toward the window. A silhouette stood across the street, half obscured by the rain, unmoving, watching. And the past, it seemed, was no longer content to stay buried. "You shouldn't have opened it." The voice on the other end was low, too calm for something so dangerous. Jungkook gripped the phone tighter, pressing it harder against his ear as if the force alone would make the caller say more. "Who is this?" he demanded, pacing across the kitchen tiles, the letter now folded tightly in his other fist. The rain outside had stopped, but the wind still howled like a warning. You should burn that letter, Jungkook, and forget you ever found it. Then, silence. A sharp click. Disconnection. He stared at the screen, unknown number, then threw the phone onto the counter hard enough to make the screen flicker. His heart was still hammering against his ribs like it wanted to escape, like it knew something was coming. He reread the letter. Every sentence felt heavier now. Something in him shifted with each word, each smudge of ink, each desperate half-sentence Taehyung left behind. He knew Taehyung knew the way he always fidgeted with his rings when nervous, how his voice dipped an octave when he lied, how his smiles often masked hurricanes. But this letter didn't sound like Taehyung, not the one he remembered. This was someone unraveling, someone terrified. Jungkook knew he couldn't do this alone, so he drove. The city passed in streaks of neon and asphalt, and by the time he reached the rusted gate of Namjoon's apartment complex, the sky had turned a deep, bruised violet. Namjoon answered the door with a frown etched into his face, his hoodie halfway off his shoulder and glasses crooked. "What the hell, Kook? It's almost midnight. Do you still have your police contacts?" Jungkook interrupted, stepping inside without waiting. Namjoon blinked, closed the door slowly, and looked him over. "What happened?" Jungkook didn't answer, not with words. He pulled out the letter and laid it on the coffee table. Namjoon didn't sit. He stood, scanning the letter like it might catch fire in front of him. His fingers hovered above the paper but never touched it. "Where did you get this?" "In a box. In my attic." Namjoon's mouth parted slightly, then shut again. He finally sat down, running a hand over his face. "Jesus Christ. You know what this is? I know it's from Taehyung. I know he never meant for me to read it while he was alive. I know someone just called and told me to burn it. That's all I know." Namjoon exhaled. This thing, it mentions the tapes. You remember those rumors from years ago? The hidden footage from the incident?" Jungkook's chest tightened. "You mean from the studio fire? Not just the fire. The break-in before it. The file theft. You remember how everything was blamed on faulty wiring? How the company buried it? It was Taehyung's last session. I was there. I left early, and then the fire started. The unspoken weight of that night always hung between them, like an unfinished sentence." Namjoon leaned forward, finally touching the letter with trembling fingers. "If this is real, someone's trying to silence the truth. And if Taehyung knew something—" "He did." Jungkook's voice cracked. "And he tried to tell me, but I didn't listen. I thought he was loosing it." He nodded. Shame burning behind his eyes. Namjoon stood. "You need to come with me." Jungkook didn't ask why. They drove to an underground parking garage beneath a shuttered building downtown. Once a dance studio, now condemned. The air smelled of mold and old concrete. Namjoon keyed open a rusted maintenance door and led them through a narrow hallway until they reached a locked storage room. Inside, under a tarp, sat a battered safe. Namjoon punched in the code. It clicked open with a mechanical groan. From it, he pulled a hard drive. "This," he said, "is what I didn't show the police back then." Jungkook stared. "You had this the whole time?" "I didn't know what was on it, just that it came from one of the surveillance cameras before the fire destroyed the others." Jungkook took it with shaking hands. "Then we watch it." They returned to Namjoon's apartment, plugged it into his desktop, waited. The video loaded a grainy black and white feed of the studio hallway, time-stamped just 2 hours before the fire. They watched silently. First came Taehyung, pacing, clearly agitated. Then a figure approached face, obscured by a hoodie. They exchanged words. The audio was missing. Then Taehyung shoved the person. The figure pulled something from their jacket. A flash. Not a gun, but a camera. Taehyung recoiled, then pointed at the camera. Then he mouthed something. Namjoon leaned closer, muttering, "Enhance it." Though he knew they couldn't. But Jungkook knew what he said. "He's watching you too." Taehyung turned and ran out of frame. The figure lingered, then looked up directly at the surveillance camera, as if aware of it. The screen cut to static. Jungkook's hands went cold. "We need to find him," he whispered. "Taehyung?" Namjoon asked, cautious. Jungkook turned to him. "If there's even a chance he's alive." Namjoon shook his head. "You don't come back from something like that." He disappeared, Vanished. No passport, no calls, nothing. But what if he was forced to? Jungkook's voice was rising, his breath short. What if he's still out there? And this letter is his last breadcrumb? Namjoon hesitated. Then he picked up the letter again. Then we followed the trail. The next day was a blur of encrypted emails, hushed phone calls, and digging through digital trash. Jungkook returned home late, mind spinning. His door was ajar. He hadn't left it that way. He stepped inside slowly. The lights were off, but the living room smelled faintly of cigarette smoke. Someone had been here. He turned on the light and froze. Pinned to the wall with a silver knife was a Polaroid of him and Taehyung, taken the night before the fire. On the back, scrawled in red ink, "Some ghosts should stay dead." His knees buckled, because beneath the Polaroid was something else. Another letter, this one unsigned, but the handwriting wasn't Taehyung's. It was his own, written in a hand he didn't remember, and it began with the words, "You forgot what you did, but I never did." The room spun. The air tasted like iron, and Jungkook realized something horrifying. This wasn't just about Taehyung anymore. This was about him, and the part of himself he'd buried long ago, now clawing its way back, and it wanted to be remembered. "You wrote this," Namjoon said quietly, eyes locked on the letter Jungkook had brought with him. He held it delicately, like a confession dripping with poison. Jungkook sat on the edge of the couch, head in his hands, voice hoarse. "I don't remember writing it. I swear to you, June. I don't remember any of this. But it's your handwriting, yes. And it references the fire, the tapes, Taehyung, even the Polaroid. Jungkook, it has your name at the end." Jungkook looked up, eyes rimmed red. "So what are you saying? That I what? Turned on him? Lied to myself? Conspired with someone?" He stood abruptly, knocking over a half-full glass. Water splashed across the table, but neither of them flinched. "I'm saying something happened to you, or you did something, and either your brain buried it." Namjoon's voice trailed off as he watched Jungkook begin to pace. "Or someone helped you forget." There was a long silence. The hum of the computer was the only thing between them. Jungkook stopped pacing. His hand trembled slightly as he lifted the letter again. Rereading the jagged scrawl he couldn't recall, writing, "You promised you'd protect him, and then you left." "I don't know what this means," he said. "I don't remember any promises. I don't remember writing this. I don't remember betraying him." "You don't remember?" Namjoon echoed. "That doesn't mean it didn't happen." The words sliced him open. Jungkook sat down again, chest heaving slightly. His head throbbed, like a warning knocking against the inside of his skull. "We need to find someone who was there. Someone who might have seen what happened that night. There's only one person I can think of who was close to Taehyung in those last weeks," Namjoon said reluctantly. "And she's not going to want to talk to either of us." "Who?" Namjoon hesitated. "Jisoo." Jungkook stared. "She hated me." "She hated everyone," Namjoon replied. "But she loved Taehyung." They found her in a downtown bar, lit like a dying memory. She was alone, swirling ice in a drink that looked mostly untouched. Her eyeliner was precise, her posture a dagger in human form. When Jungkook walked in, she noticed him instantly. Her eyes narrowed. She didn't move. "Still alive, I see," she said as he approached. Her voice had a venomous elegance. "Can we talk?" "Funny. That's what Taehyung said to me the night he disappeared." She leaned back in her chair. "You want to know what he said, John?" He didn't respond. He said, "If anything happens to me, don't trust Jungkook." Jungkook froze. Jisoo smirked, but there was no warmth in it. "Now you want to talk? After 3 years of silence? After all that silence that felt like a goddamn burial ground? I need to know what happened," Jungkook said. "Please." Jisoo studied him, then finally gestured to the seat across from her. He sat. "You were his obsession, you know," she said. "Even when everything started unraveling, even when the messages got darker, even when he stopped sleeping, all he talked about was you." "What kind of messages?" Namjoon asked, stepping up beside them. She looked at him. "Didn't know you were part of this again. Thought you'd turned monk on us." Namjoon gave a dry smile. "Turns out even monks get haunted." Jisoo pulled a crumpled napkin from her coat pocket, laid it flat. On it, a scribbled line. "He remembers everything. I saw the tape. They can't let him live. That was the last thing he gave me," she said softly. Slipped it into my hand outside the club. Then he vanished. "What tape?" Jungkook asked. Jisoo shook her head. "He never told me. Just said he had proof of something. Something someone didn't want him to release. He said you were part of it, and that you didn't even know." Namjoon exhaled slowly. "MK Ultra shit." "Excuse me?" Jungkook blinked. Jisoo raised an eyebrow. "You really want to go down that rabbit hole? Because it doesn't end with tapes. It ends with rooms that don't exist, names that were erased from databases, contracts signed in blood figuratively, maybe even literally." "You're joking." "I'm tired of joking, Jungkook. I buried a friend." Jungkook stared at the napkin, mind spinning. "Do you know where he might have gone?" "He always mentioned this cabin," she said finally. "Out near Yangpyeong. Said it was the only place he could think. No phone signal. No noise." Jungkook stood. "Then that's where I'm going." She caught his wrist before he turned. Her grip was firm. "Don't go alone." He met her eyes. For the first time, there was no hate in them, just fear. "If what he found really mattered," she said, voice suddenly quiet, "then someone already knows you're looking for it." The road to Yangpyeong was empty and moonless. Trees lined the narrow path, like silent guards. Jungkook drove with both hands clenched on the wheel, headlights slicing the dark. Every few seconds, he checked the rearview mirror. No one. Still, his pulse was high. When he arrived at the cabin, it was just as Jisoo described, small, made of rotting pine, nearly swallowed by the forest. The door creaked open with a gentle push. Inside, dust blanketed everything. A table with a single chair, a mattress on the floor, no electricity. Then, he saw it beneath the table, a tin lockbox. He knelt, picked the lock with a rusted hairpin from the floor. The lid popped open. Inside, a flash drive. He didn't wait. Back in the car, he plugged it into his laptop, heart in his throat. A single file, video. He hit play. Static. Then Taehyung's face filled the screen. Pale, eyes bloodshot. "If you're watching this, it means I'm probably gone," he said. "They'll say it was suicide. Maybe an accident." It wasn't. He looked over his shoulder, then leaned closer. "I saw the original tapes. The ones from Studio B. They showed everything. Who was there? What happened? And you, Jungkook, you were there too." Jungkook's stomach dropped. "You don't remember? I know. They made sure of that. The injections, the tests, the blackout periods. You were a test subject. We both were." The screen flickered. "I got out. I hacked the security feed. I saw who was behind it, but I can't say their name. If I do, this video will be flagged and deleted." Taehyung looked into the camera, face shaking. "I tried to protect you, Kook. That's why I pushed you away, why I stopped calling. They were listening, always listening." A loud bang in the background. Taehyung flinched. Then the screen cut to black. Jungkook stared, mouth dry, heart thundering. He didn't remember any of it. Not the injections, not the tests, not the studio after dark. But somewhere deep in his chest, something cracked. A memory. White walls. A chair bolted to the floor. Needles. A man with gloves saying, "Don't worry, Jungkook. You won't remember a thing." He gasped, gripping the sides of the laptop as his vision blurred. Outside, something moved. A car. No headlights. They had followed him. He grabbed the flash drive, slammed the laptop shut, and ran to the back door. Voices in the trees. Then gunfire. Splinters exploded from the wooden walls as bullets tore through the cabin. He ran. The forest swallowed him. Branches whipped his face. He didn't stop until he reached the river. Lungs burning, flash drive still clutched tight. Behind him, the forest was silent again. But the war had just begun. The rain hadn't stopped for days. Seoul drowned in a fog of silver and silence, as if the city itself were holding its breath. Somewhere, in a windowless room beneath an abandoned broadcasting station, Jungkook stood staring at the man who was supposed to be dead. "You're not real," Jungkook whispered. Taehyung didn't answer. He just watched him, arms folded. The same impossible stillness he always had when something inside him was breaking. He looked thinner. A scar split across his jaw like a crack in a porcelain statue. But it was him. Real. Breathing. Jungkook stepped closer. like one wrong move might make the vision disappear. "Where the hell have you been?" Taehyung's voice was hollow. "Running. From who?" "From you." The words landed like a bullet. Jungkook blinked. "What?" Taehyung turned away, paced to the far side of the room, where a stack of rusted server towers buzzed softly under a sheet of dust. The air smelled of ozone, solder, and betrayal. "You were the key," Taehyung said. "Always were. I tried to tell you in the letter, but I didn't think you'd ever find it. Not unless they let you." Jungkook's fists clenched. "I don't understand. They tried to kill me. They shot up the cabin. They hunted me through the woods. They needed you desperate," Taehyung cut in. "Desperate people make mistakes. Desperate people come looking for answers. And when you're desperate enough, you'll follow any lead they leave for you." "I found the tape," Jungkook said, voice shaking. "The message. You said we were test subjects, that they erased my memories. You said—" "I said the truth." Taehyung turned to face him fully now. His eyes burned, fierce and ruined. "Do you remember the black room?" Jungkook froze. White lights, screaming, liquid running through his veins like fire. I don't know what's real anymore." Taehyung walked forward, slow and careful. "You were part of an experiment funded by a private defense contractor working with an underground branch of the old agency classified black budget. Memory suppression, behavioral conditioning. It started with the studio, remember? Quiet tests, sleep deprivation, subliminals in the backing tracks. Then they took it further. Deep trance states, implants. You stopped sleeping. You forgot, and they watched it all." Jungkook backed away, his legs shaking. "Why me? Why you? Why us?" "Because we were famous. Because we had influence. Because millions watched us smile and never questioned the shadows behind us." Jungkook's vision blurred. "I didn't want you to find out like this," Taehyung said softly. "I wanted to destroy the last of it before they got to you. But I failed. And when I realized they still had you under, I vanished. I had to. I thought I was protecting you." "They said I betrayed you," Jungkook said. "I found a letter, written in my own handwriting. I said I abandoned you." Taehyung nodded. "You did, but not by choice. You were triggered. They wiped you, replaced your guilt with fake memories, planted stories. You believe we drifted apart, but it wasn't you. It was them." A tear slid down Jungkook's face. "So I left you, and forgot, and you were alone." Taehyung looked away. "You never forgot, Kook. It was always there." Screaming under the surface, he reached into his coat and pulled out a final flash drive. "This is everything. Names, footage, contracts. The original test subjects. We can burn them with this." Jungkook stared. "Why now? Why not disappear for good?" "Because they know," Taehyung said. "And they're coming." Alarms erupted. Red lights bathed the walls. The server towers roared to life as a remote wipe initiated. Taehyung cursed and leapt for the terminal. Jungkook grabbed his shoulder, eyes wide. "We have to go. We have to upload it," Taehyung snapped. "They'll kill us." Taehyung smiled grimly. "Maybe, but someone will know. Someone will remember." Gunfire tore through the ceiling above them. Dust rained down like ash. Jungkook helped Taehyung up, and they ran down steel stairwells, through rusted halls. The building shook with footsteps, shadows behind glass. Commands shouted in clipped voices. They burst into a basement room, empty but for an old broadcasting rig, long dormant. Taehyung moved fast, plugging the drive into the console, bypassing the wiped servers. "They'll jam the signal," Jungkook said. "Not if I scramble it first." Outside the door, boots pounded the ground. Shouts drew closer. The screen in front of them flickered. Connected. Live. Taehyung opened the video feed and turned the camera toward Jungkook. "You have to say it," he said. Jungkook hesitated. The door began to crack. Splinters. Bullets. Taehyung grabbed his arm. "If we die here, at least make it mean something." The camera was rolling. Jungkook stepped forward. "I don't know who's watching this," he began, voice shaking but strong. "But if you're seeing it, then you need to know we were not who you thought we were. My name is John Jungkook. I was part of a system I never agreed to. I was drugged, controlled, and erased. And I'm not the only one. Taehyung stepped beside him. My name is Kim Taehyung, he said, and we have the proof. The door exploded open. A flash. Then, darkness. When Jungkook opened his eyes again, he was in a hospital bed. Namjoon sat beside him, bruised and tired. You're lucky, he said. They tried to say it was a gas explosion. Taehyung? Jungkook asked. Namjoon didn't answer right away. He got the signal out. The file went live. Half the net is talking about it. They're trying to call it fake conspiracy trash, but it's out there now. People are seeing it, asking questions. Jungkook sat up, heart heavy. Where is he? Namjoon looked away. They didn't find him. Silence. Jungkook clenched the blanket in his fists. He saved me. Again. He loved you, Namjoon said. And he never stopped. A week later, Jungkook stood in front of a small grave in the forest. No name. Just a stone. A marker for someone who could never rest in the open. He left the final letter there. The one Taehyung had written in his own hand. The one that ended with, "If I can't come home, tell them I tried." The wind stirred the leaves. Somewhere behind him, someone snapped a photo. He turned. No one was there, just trees, and the sound of a song carried faintly by the breeze. One he hadn't heard in years. A voice like velvet and smoke, singing only for him. For a moment, he smiled, because some ghosts don't haunt. They guard. And some truths, once freed, never sleep again.